Sal, I watched him go through the 7 stages of I can't believe this has happened to me again. It wasn't even grief. What was it?
You haven't watched with me like lose in a while, right?
No, this one was bad because I felt like you had high hopes, but you were also, your guard was up. You were in a weird, even start of the day, I felt like you were in a weird
I couldn't
spot.
sit, right? I think I stood for most of the 3 hours. I moved around.
You
tried
did. You
bunch
moved
of things.
into 5 different locations in the big room.
You gave me a Roddy Piper glass from my Diet Coke. We thought that would change our fortune, but they just sucked, man. They sucked. I thought about driving home. I'm like, I'll do the podcast from home. I don't need these people dropping F-bombs all day. I'm an immature jerk. But they sucked. I hated it.
So we'll talk about all the games. Normally we would talk about the last game of the day, but the Cowboys thing, we all went in a Bill Belichick, Jim Harbaugh, Mike Vrabel mode. What was it? Halfway through the second quarter? I took it Instagram. It was the first time it got mentioned, but that's clearly going to be it for McCarthy. Dak is now 2-5 in playoff games. Jones, I think, is 5-12 since the last Super Bowl in the playoffs.
Aaron Jones? He seemed pretty good to me.
Jerry Jones, teams that he's owned.
Yeah.
And this was especially embarrassing because their defense got absolutely crushed by a QB who had never been there before, a Packers team that was young and dumb, but in a good way, and just went up and down the field on him. Dak ended up with 403 yards, though. That was fun.
Yeah, that was stupid. I know. I wish I can get mad at the refs or just one thing. But the defense was so bad that I don't even know if Dak was good, if it mattered. But he was really bad. He looked all out of sorts, even in the beginning. Sailing passes to CD Lamb. He was way off.
And locking in on him. And you always knew Dak, whoever the first receiver was, he was just staring him down and throwing it to him.
Right.
Lamb was mad at him like almost immediately. We didn't know what was going on with that.
I was stunned because I know he has trouble with 2 deep safeties, but that's like when the Niners play that, right? When you're playing the Packers and like this 24th ranked pass defense, where a banged up Jair Alexander and like their second or third corner, the guy covering Michael Gallup is like a practice squad guy, and they couldn't figure it out for hours, and it just made me sick. Like, how are they not passing all over this team? And
it was weird for me because I'm just getting texts from people being like, "You're with Sal, right? How's he doing?" There was like 2 hours left in the game. Yeah. Is he all right? Is he still in the house or did he leave? People just get concerned for your welfare.
You should have told me to leave. You should have.
No,
as a friend,
come on. Listen, there was nothing worse than what we witnessed yesterday with JJ during that Dolphins game.
That was bad.
I mean, he took that way harder. You've at least won Super Bowls that you can remember in your lifetime.
Yeah. Now JJ has the longest drought for a playoff winless team. But yeah, I don't know what to say. Like Dak, McCarthy, I actually think like Quinn was worse, like as a coach, and he's going to get a job. I hate that McCarthy didn't have them ready in a game that like should mean his job, as you say, and whatever's left of his legacy against this Packers team. But it sucked. It really did.
Yeah, maybe you're better off just throwing that last week of the season away and playing at Tampa.
Oh, Philly might have done this right.
Yeah, Philly might have.
They could get,
assuming they did it intentionally, they might have done it right.
They could get 2 home games. Oh, no, the Rams lost. So, okay. 1 home game.
Well, I was trying to think of tough week for ... Tough week for Dak.
Yeah.
He's 30 years old right now. You kind of are who you are as a QB at this point. We've seen him look really, this is the best year he's had. I don't totally trust him in big games like this. I thought his eyes turned into saucers basically halfway through the first quarter. And this was a game like if you're a really elite franchise guy, you're like, all right, guys, our defense can't stop us. Let's go get some points. It went the other way. Tough week for Dak, but you have to pay him, right?
Yeah, definitely one more year.
How you feeling about that? One more year and then probably an extension if you're going to do it would be this summer.
Probably. It's $29 million. And yeah, it's funny you mentioned JJ, big Dolphins fan. We watched with him. I feel like I'm in the same boat as he is, as Dolphins fans are. You have between Dak and Tua 2 top 10 quarterbacks, right? Not really going to argue with that. Regular season top 10.
Regular season top 10 quarterbacks.
Right there. All right, so what do? Do you look to move on for them? First of all, I don't even know if we get a second rounder for Dak at this point with the 1 year left. And if you do move on from them, you're now putting yourself in that pool of, where 70% of GMs fail picking up one of these quarterbacks, drafting them. So kind of stuck.
Well, you can't do that with the team you have. I would say you probably blame the coach. And, you had Diggs went out. So you can look at that, say like, man, maybe this is part of it. Gilmore was hurt, so that was your second best cornerback. It doesn't explain the lack of a pass rush. The fact that Parsons, we were talking about it during the game. Parsons has become like the new grind. He just gets manhandled. They never call anything. They show replays, just two guys. I'm like an innocent bystander. I actually probably don't like
innocent.
The Cowboys.
You're not that innocent.
No, but I'm like, whoa, Parsons. Like, why does he get officiated like this?
His head is snapped back every play. In fact,
hitting the helmet all the time.
They have to drop him in coverage a few plays. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. And I'm like, that's just to give him a rest, I think. That's to give him a rest without actually giving him a rest. But yeah, that defense was bad. But let's give it to Jordan Love. Well,
I was going to say, tough week for Rodgers.
Great.
I mean, for all kinds of reasons. And then on top of it, this Green Bay thing happens, this pick that he hated, and the guy played better in that playoff game than Rodgers has probably played the last 5 years in the playoffs.
I agree. Rodgers, again, with his comments, another subpar January. But Jordan Love, hottest quarterback in football coming in. I did worry about that a little. 21 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in like the last 7 weeks. Perfect passer rating today. He's going to be great. And he kind of looked like Rodgers, right? He back-footing stuff, like side-arming
quick
stuff,
sidearm stuff,
waiting as long as he could.
Moving around. He had a couple awesome throws where he took big hits and caught the guy in stride and just made, like, honestly, a couple wow plays.
There were guys wide open, 25 yards down the field in the same spot like 3 times in a row. It was disgusting. But he's pretty damn good. I mean, whatever. He could also grow a weird creepster mustache and, sling some conspiracy theories and who knows what
inaccurate statements.
Slanderous stuff. Yeah, who knows? But I don't know.
Tough week for Mike McCarthy, who one of the headlines today was Prescott backs McCarthy. How'd you feel about that? You're like, can I back neither of them?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think what the equivalent is of two guys who might be on their way out backing each other.
So you really think Dak might be on his way out?
No, I was trying to look at what I'm reading, and I was reading all the nonsense, but what can we get for him? A second rounder?
And you take a cap hit too, right?
Yeah, and we take the cap hit. So it's not good. It's easier to get rid of McCarthy. I know you have plans for him. I know you're walking through the neighborhood. I passed 63 mansions. And I come up with Belichick to the Cowboys. I don't think that's the answer. Tell me why you think it's perfect, and I'll tell you.
You don't think Belichick's the answer?
I don't want him, and I don't think it's going to happen either. But
would he have done a better job than Mike McCarthy today? I'm going to say he did. Would your defense have gotten torched by Jordan Love? Probably not.
All right. Okay.
I just think Belichick, the more intel we get, he wants to break that record.
Sure.
The Wickersham, Wright Thompson piece was pretty interesting. But you go to Dallas, probably 11 to 12 wins 2 years in a row. I think it's the sexy move for Jones.
Really?
Right? It's like, hey, the McCarthy, but I just got the greatest coach of all time, and we haven't won a Super Bowl in 3 decades, and now Bill Belichick, we need each other. This is going to be great. Turning the team over to him. He's in control of all the coaching stuff. We're here. We have a whole system. And if you're Belichick, like, it's just the safest bet of all these available jobs. Like Atlanta, I don't have a QB. Carolina, Chargers, like, you go through them, and it's either this or if Buffalo shits the bed tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, all right. First thing, here's why I don't think it works for Dallas. First of all, and maybe this works in his favor, we have intel, like, he doesn't like Bob Kraft, Jerry Jones. So would this be an FU to him?
Well, they're frenemies. They're supposed to be friends, but it's like one of those, But
if he brings them on, is this an FU to him, or is that like, no, I don't want your damaged goods?
So I said, Schrager brought this up on Thursday, and I just think these super rich guys, they actually kind of like swinging their dicks and hitting the other guy in the head. Yeah, and being like, fuck you, I hired your coach.
I would think Jerry would talk about swinging his dick and hitting everybody in the head.
He'd be psyched to be able to swing his dick, I think, at this point.
At least some kind of interview. Secondly, though, if he wants to be a GM, there's no way Jerry's going to let him do that.
But maybe he just comes in and it's like, hey, you're just going to coach the team. We have a whole thing here. Here's $20 million a year.
All right.
And you can coach the most famous franchise in any sport other than maybe the Yankees. Are the Cowboys 1 or 2?
I put them 1, although they might have lost a fan today sitting across from you. But
the move is to hire Mike Vrabel.
Yeah,
is like the smart
that seems
move.
better. Right.
But I don't know if that's the Jared Jones move. The Jared Jones move is I'm in my 80s. I want to win now. The greatest coach ever is available. I have a quarterback. I have a team. I have a defense that underperformed. I'll spend whatever it takes. This guy's as motivated as I am. You talk yourself into that pretty fast.
I just think it took 25 years for him to put Jimmy Johnson, a headstrong, type A personality, in the Ring of Honor. He's going to take flack from Belichick the last couple of years. The other thing is, he proved on your team, Belichick, he can't win with shitty quarterbacks.
Oh,
I know, I'm taking it too far. It's bad.
That was brutal. I didn't know what you were doing there for a second.
You said Atlanta for Belichick. I think that's the answer. I think he can get 10 wins with Atlanta.
I think it's Atlanta if I know I can get Kirk Cousins or somebody who's at least...
That's the threat. I think Minshew and above can get
we
you
said
10
it's
wins.
the Minshew line.
Yeah, the Minshew line.
Minshew can win you 10 games. And then you watch Houston yesterday and you think maybe Indianapolis and Minshew was a little better than we thought. There was some cause and effect stuff that, we always end up doing after the fact. But even Green Bay, when they beat Detroit on Thanksgiving, and that seemed like such a bad loss for Detroit.
Right.
Now it doesn't seem as bad because, Green Bay's been coming on here for 7-8 weeks.
He had that kind of game. He really did.
So, and then Detroit looks a little better today. So who do you want as the coach? You got to tell us.
I don't know. I haven't even gotten that far. I'm just so mad about the game. Vrabel out of those three, I would say, right?
Not Harbaugh. You wouldn't.
No, I think Harbaugh doesn't get along. He doesn't even talk to the AD there at Michigan. I think he's like behind the scenes. He sours on these guys pretty quickly and vice versa. But Belichick to Atlanta, like people will say to the Chargers, you got Justin Herbert, you're going to win games.
No,
well, you have Mahomes in that division. So I liken it to blackjack, right? So if you put Belichick on the Chargers, you have a 9 against a picture card. You have 19 against a picture card. If you put Belichick on the Falcons,
I would say that's more like a 7.
A 7?
Yeah.
All right.
Because they have all these salary cap issues, the Chargers.
If you put them on the Falcons, you have a 15 against a 6, I think.
Right. It's NFC South. Yeah.
That's it.
You're worried about Carolina, who's a disaster.
Right.
Tampa, well, I don't even know what they are. And then
Saints too.
And then Saints is like they're, yeah, that makes sense. You just need the QB. Vrabel is the one that makes the most sense, but then he's in another situation where he's beholden to some owner.
Mm-hmm.
But Vrabel's like his age, like that's somebody he could be the Cowboys coach for by the time Jones is dead, whenever that is.
Exactly.
Like 20 years
35 years, yeah.
35 years from now. These are all the Dak Prescott games. Playoffs.
It sounded like you were moving on to another game. But.
Well, they lost to Green Bay by 3 in 2017.
Right.
They beat Seattle by 2 and then lost to the Rams in 2019.
I was at that game.
A little dissatisfying.
Gouged on the ground. Yep.
They lost to the Niners in 2022, January.
Mm-hmm.
Then they beat Tampa last year.
Knocked Brady out of the game for good.
A pretty bad Tampa team. And then lost to the Niners and scored 12 points. And then this was the first time he really got blown out in a playoff game.
Yeah.
So deep down, you did name your kid Jack Romo Iacono. You did like that. It is like a slight vindication.
Yeah, that's true.
But he's not doing better than Romo did as the Dallas QB.
I do wonder. I'm on a bunch of text chains, as you imagine. We talked in one of them. If Jerry, looking back, would have insisted Romo stay in the lineup when Dak was so good, that at least for that 1 year to have it. But in my mind, I like to think he would have.